Steve here with Table Rock Tea Company. We are in the study today, and as promised, I'm going to give you a book review. This is going to be a little bit longer of a section, and pardon the weird camera angle, I did that for a reason so I could show you some pages on the books. But this particular review is going to be of a 5-volume series on herbal medicine. Happens to be my favorite as far as that subject goes. And many of you guys know that Table Rock Tea Company is not just a tea company that's focused on beverage teas. My background is in nursing. I've been a surgical nurse for 30 plus years, so 3 decades. I actually got started in medicine in 1989. Prior to that, I was a plant biology major at Virginia Tech. And so I hope anyway that I bring a good balance to herbal medicine. Of course, here at Table Rock Tea Company, we co-pack for about 50 other tea and herb companies across the country, and we live right in the Southern Appalachians, which is one of the most biodiverse regions in the country, especially for herbal medicinals. So we have a pretty broad background when it comes to that. I take herbal medicine very seriously, and I take the books that I read about it very seriously. Unfortunately, I can tell you from being in Western medicine for over 3 decades that that's not the case with everybody. And I think that's the reason, the primary reason why herbal medicine has a bad rap. It's because I'll just put it frankly, there are a lot of goofballs out there who really don't know what they're doing. One, there's a lot of information that comes out that is ineffective. I always tell people that when you read an herbal medicine book in general, 90% of it is garbage. Now 10% is legit. Here's the problem with the 10%. You still need to know what you're doing. You know, we get some pretty powerful medicines from herbs. Digitalis from foxglove, atropine from belladonna. They could rack your heart pretty bad. You know, I think the one that comes to mind, ginkgo is being studied as a potential remedy or aid for memory loss and dementia. The reason for that is because ginkgo is a vasodilator for blood vessels in the brain. It means that it opens up the blood vessels in your brain, gives you more blood flow, more oxygenation, that kind of stuff. However, if you vasodilate your brain vessels too much, we call it a stroke. And so you can't just be willy-nilly about how you approach herbal medicine. So I'd like to say that I approach that with caution and with also a great deal of experience and skepticism at the same time. Thankfully here we get to work with so much in materials as far as herbal stuff goes. With our co-packing, we probably process hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of herbs. A lot. We run tons and tons of material through here every month. So so we get to experiment with a lot of different things. But as far as studying goes, as far as herbal medicine studies go, I tend to gravitate toward the more clinical things. And there are a lot of books out there that are more anecdotal. They're more folkloric. They're very popular, but again, 90% of what's in there is pretty useless. Might sound great, whatever, but you really want, if you're going to be diehard about formulating and studying and stuff like that, it behooves you to get some good reference material. So without further ado with this book review, I want to look into a series here by Dr. Jill Stansberry, and it is called, if you can read that there, Herbal Formularies for Health Professionals. It's a 5-volume set. Rather expensive. Each volume is about $60, so you're going to spend about $300 on this. What I like about it is that this is done in a way that we studied medicine. So it's how I went through nursing school. It's how a lot of doctors go through med school. And it's studied by systems instead of just randomly they're looking at an herb or a problem or that kind of stuff. It approaches herbal medicine by way of systems. So I'll show you what that means. For example, Volume 1, Digestion and Elimination. Volume 2, Circulation and Respiration. Volume 3, Endocrinology. Volume 4, Neurology, Psychiatry, and Pain Management. Number 5, Immunology, Orthopedics, and Otolaryngology. So there you go, ear, nose, and throat, and ortho. I'll be very curious to see what this one has to say. I've only read so far Volume 1. I'm working my way through, but I'm interested to hear what they have to say on the ortho side, because that's been 20 years of my career was in orthopedics. So as you go into the book, I'll kind of look, and this is why I have that camera the way it is. You can see here how it's laid out. Let me see. So it kind of gives an introduction, breaks things up, and then it kind of gets into the systems. So like digestion, elimination, it might get into stomach, and then it'll move to, say, gallbladder and things like that as you go down through. It also has these little breakout sections here that either describe a particular problem or an herb that affects that problem, and that's really cool. So there's a lot of cool little breakout sections, a lot of great illustrations. It's just a well done book. And what's also cool, so it'll start out giving you an overview of the system, an overview of some of the common problems of the system. And if you're not familiar with medical terminology and things like that, these are not the books for you. It is written like a medical textbook. So a lot of Latin, a lot of medical terms and things like that. So it's not a light read by any stretch of the imagination, but it's done really well. It's done in a very logical, systematic approach. And it also gives various formularies or formulations for different things. So there might be, say, 10 different recipes for an IBS formula or things like that. And it's not just limited to teas. It could be salves and tinctures and stuff, all different kinds of things. And so that's really helpful. And then in the end of the book, there's tons of cross-referencing for sure. But what I really like too is at the very end, I don't know if you can see this here or not, it'll go alphabetically through all of the herbs that were mentioned in the volume. So you can just go through that section and you can look up a certain plant. Like let's say you've got a plant that you happen to be growing, you can look that up and see, okay, well that's good for X, Y, and Z. Because a lot of the plants have crossover applications. And so I really like this volume, or these volumes. Like I said, they're a little expensive, they're a little bit weighty, but they're definitely worth it. This one in particular, this is the first one I went through, was instrumental for me developing our Happy Tract, which a lot of people, you can go online, read the reviews of Happy Tract. That particular tea has helped a lot of folks with GI issues. And that just came about from me reading. And as I go through and read, certain things will pique my interest, either because they're just unusual or they have some kind of scientific merit behind them. And again, I filter that through my Western medicine background and 30 years of clinical practice, and see kind of what makes sense. And so I'll cross-reference those and look them up. And I don't like to mark up my books, so I've got a little notebook here. You can kind of read my chicken scratch, but when something sort of strikes my fancy, I'll write it in the book. And then that stuff I'll go and I'll flag later. Usually that's the stuff that I'll make it into a formulation, whether it's a tea or a tincture or whatever it would be. So yeah, I think it's beneficial to have some good, solid clinical books. The problem again with herbal medicine is that there's so much stuff that's been promoted that's ineffective that a lot of Western medicine practitioners sort of dismiss it. But there's a lot of great things. So I think it's our responsibility as herbal practitioners to bring things to the table that are useful, to actually make it so that the stuff that we do and the formulas that we create are useful, that they're effective, and that they're safe, of course. And so as you go into your practice, get some good books. I'll review more of these as we go, but right now, check it out. Herbal Formularies for Health Professionals, volumes 1 through 5 by Dr. Jill Stansberry, and those are available on Amazon. So thanks again for watching. Stay tuned to see what else is brewing here at Table Rock Tea Company.